mortals. You're entering the eerie depths of Chokeslam Radio, where expert insider WWE knowledge and secrets are unleashed with thunderous power.
Rest in peace.
Coming to you live straight from the heart of Death Valley, here are your mysterious hosts, DRW15 and DJ Big Unknown.
What's up, WWE Nation? I'm DJ Big Unknown, and you're back on a brand new episode of Chokeslam Radio.
Yeah, it's DRW15 here with DJ Big Unknown. No special guest this week, but we're still here live, ready to bring you all the latest and greatest WWE news. A lot of fun stuff happened this week, and we're getting ready for Money in the Bank. So a lot of stuff to go over. Excited to get into it.
It's no doubt that the Money in the Bank matches are going to be a banger this year, but, you know, I'm a little upset after the events that happened last night, especially towards the end of the show.
Yeah, no, for sure. There was a lot that happened on Monday Night Raw. I know we were a little confused about what happened last week on Monday Night Raw that we talked about on the podcast with the hackers and everything that's going on. And so there's a whole lot to go over in the WWE Nation right now. There's a lot that's going on in the ring, but it seems like even more is going on outside the ring. So yeah.
Let's start off talking about SmackDown last week. I mean, it was a pretty action-packed episode. We had, first of all, Drew McIntyre with this surprise attack. Once again, WWE security showing that they're totally incompetent. You would think after the attack that happened just a couple of days ago on Monday Night Raw that they might be a little more prepared for something like this to happen, but no. Drew McIntyre, who everyone knows isn't supposed to be there because he's on Raw, and he said that he quit Raw anyway. He was able to just show up and attack CM Punk and absolutely obliterate him.
Yeah, no, we talked about it last week after Monday Night Raw. We were saying, you know, maybe if I was a fighter on Friday Night SmackDown, I wouldn't even go to the show because, you know, who knows what's going to happen. And so for one of their own fighters, for Drew McIntyre to show up and brutally attack CM Punk, and we don't even have the security to stop that, like, it's an embarrassment. It's unfortunate for CM Punk, and you know, you got to keep tabs on a guy like that. We talked about it last week. Drew McIntyre's a little baby. We know he's going to throw a temper tantrum when something doesn't go his way. He pretends to quit. Everyone knew he wasn't actually quitting. But for him to be able to just show up and beat the living HE double hockey sticks out of CM Punk, it's an embarrassment for the entire company.
Mm-hmm. And you know what? I was kind of relieved when Drew McIntyre said that he quit because I was tired of him going up every Monday night finding something else to whine about. You know, I'm tired of it. It's happened every week for the past couple months, and there he was again yesterday whining again, but this time he's all excited because he stole CM Punk's friendship bracelet or something. You think he actually cares about that, dude? Like, whatever. CM Punk is going to come back and, you know, just keep getting revenge on you. If you want to stop being screwed over in these fights, maybe you should try being nice to someone for once.
Yeah, I think it's an unfortunate cycle he finds himself in, because I can't remember the last time Drew McIntyre actually won a legit match, but every time he loses the match and then he throws a big fit and he makes more enemies, and then next time he has a match, someone shows up and you know, gets in his head, as we saw with CM Punk. It doesn't take much to get in Drew McIntyre's head. And Drew McIntyre gets so distracted, and now he's doing all this crazy stuff, worrying about friendship bracelets. Like, bro, you're a WWE fighter. Worry about the actual matches. Worry about the WWE Championship, the heavyweight belt that I thought you wanted. But instead, he's attacking a hurt fighter and stealing his friendship bracelets. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah. And what's actually interesting is the last match that Drew McIntyre actually won was against Cody Rhodes, the current Universal champ. So he would have a very good, case if he wanted to go up against Cody, but he's so distracted about CM Punk and all these other guys that he doesn't even care about the world title. Or not the world title. He doesn't even care about the Universal title. He's so focused on all this other crap.
Yeah, and we saw last week, he deactivated his Twitter after he quit, and we all knew that wasn't going to last. And of course, now he's back on Twitter talking smack again. So he's back to his same old ways. He pretends to quit last week, and now it's back like nothing ever happened. But he's still got beef with CM Punk, and it doesn't really matter who he schedules a match with next, because whoever he's fighting against automatically has the upper hand, because Drew McIntyre has made so many enemies that it's never going to be just a one-on-one match with him, because he's going to bring all that baggage into the ring, and someone's going to show up and get in his head, and he's going to throw a little tantrum and lose the match. So until he figures that out, I don't think he's a real contender to win any sort of belt at this point.
Exactly. Going back to Drew McIntyre beating the HE double hockey stick out of CM Punk. A lot of people are complaining, oh, Roman Reigns doesn't want to actually show up to WWE. He's so lazy. He doesn't deserve to be the head of the table because he won't even show up to WWE only once every couple months. Well, maybe he's smart. Do you think you would want to keep showing up to these shows with horrible security and people are getting beat up, nearly beat to death? We saw Ricochet, who even knows if he's okay. We saw Chad Gable, who everyone thought was dead for sure. And now CM Punk getting the crap beat out of him because there's absolutely no security at these events. If there's anyone with a target on their back, it's Roman Reigns. So, before you go on Twitter complaining about, oh, Roman needs to show up more often, maybe you should be asking WWE security to get their SHIT together.
Yeah, that's a good point. There was so much security last night at Monday Night Raw. The whole time they were talking about how they were worried that these hackers were going to show up again, so they hired all this extra security. And then what happens? Chad Gable wins his match. These hackers show up. Chad Gable has to run for his life, and these hackers are able to walk right up to Michael Cole with their mask on and give him something. At the time, we didn't know what it was. It could have been a bomb. It could have been anything. And the security guards, who knew where they were? I didn't even see them the whole time. So, what's the point in hiring all this extra security and talking about it the whole time if when something actually happens, they're not going to even move or protect anyone that they're supposed to protect? It's a joke.
And, this horrible security, like, we don't want to blame the security guards. We know that they're doing their best. This mainly goes all the way up to the top because Triple H made an interesting comment in the press conference after Clash of the Castle. He mentioned how they like to hire, future WWE wrestlers as security guards instead of actual security. So, these guys who they're hiring, they're more focused on, networking with the wrestlers. They don't want to hurt their feelings because they're trying to become a wrestler too one day. They're not actually there to do security. And if they're ever in a tough situation where they're going to have to fight one of these wrestlers, they're not going to do it because they're fans of these guys.
Yeah, it's interesting. That would be like the NFL hiring refs and security guards that are like college football players that want to be in the NFL. Like it doesn't make any sense. You got to hire the guys that are trained to do the job. And another thing, if these guys are looking for their spot to get in the WWE, why are they going to protect these fighters? If a fighter gets hurt, that means a spot opens up on a roster. That means a spot for them. So why are these security guards? Why do they have any motive to protect these fighters when they're, looking for a way to get in the WWE, and maybe they see their way in is another fighter getting beat up backstage.
And, before people go out there and call me a hypocrite, because I did security as well, I was only doing it just because, I was a big guy and, I'm honestly bigger than a lot of these actual fighters, so I was only doing security because I was actually trying to do security, you know. I wasn't actually trying to be a wrestler. I mean, I would be a wrestler, but I was, you know, it's different when you have DJ Big Unknown. That's all I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen clips of you as security, and you were putting your body on the line to protect those fighters, and I haven't seen a lot of the security guards in the WWE do that. So, you know, maybe it is a best idea for Triple H to look elsewhere instead of, you know, prospective WWE fighters, and maybe invest in some actual security guards who are willing to put their bodies on the line to protect the fighters because they care about wrestling and the fighters in the ring and don't care about as much about themselves.
Hmm. Anyways, I'm tired of talking about this horrible security, but before CM Punk got absolutely ambushed, he was out there talking to the wise man. And the wise man has been acting very differently these last couple weeks. He's all of a sudden not seeming as loyal to the bloodline.
Yeah,
And, you
no,
know,
I just I think at this point the bloodline they're doing too much. Solo Sikoa is a little bit out of control. I feel like he's been lying about talking to Roman Reigns, and I feel like every week they bring in a new member. Now I don't even know who these guys even are anymore. Tongaloa, Tamatonga, Jacob Fatu, like these are just names to me. I haven't seen any of them actually fight in a real match. All they do is show up and cause chaos, and so I understand why Paul Heyman doesn't want to be a part of that anymore. And CM Punk is definitely an attractive option because he's been in the WWE a long time. He knows, you know, how to handle business the right way. And, you know, as we've seen, he's getting in Drew McIntyre's head and doing a good job of it. So I think he and Paul Heyman would make a good team if Paul Heyman wants to, because they have also teamed up before in the past.
yeah, I think it's pretty clear Paul Heyman wants to leave the bloodline, if you really want to call him that at this point. But, you know, Solo Sikoa, he's not gonna let the wise man just leave like that. You know, the wise man is an integral part of the bloodline, and if he left, then it definitely really wouldn't be considered the bloodline anymore. Could you imagine if it was just Solo Sikoa and all these new guys, and they didn't even have the wise man? Like, that's pretty much not even the bloodline at that point.
Mm-mm.
I mean, yeah.
Well, the whole point of having Paul Heyman there is for, you know, for him to give you advice, as you know, he's the bloodline or he's the wise man. But, you know, also just to having him there is a bit of an intimidation factor. But I feel like Solo Sikoa isn't really taking advantage of everything that Paul Heyman brings to the table. I feel like he's trying to do too much, as I was saying before, and he's not listening to Paul Heyman, and Paul Heyman feels disrespected. You know, he's been around the WWE a long time. Solo Sikoa has just recently taken over the bloodline, and he's acting like he runs the whole show. So I think he's got to learn his place a little bit. As I said, he's bringing in all these new members of the bloodline, but he's got to remember where he came from. I think he's got to remember Roman Reigns and what the bloodline was and how powerful they were with Roman and with Paul Heyman and with everyone working together. So we'll see what happens at Money in the Bank, because I saw the poster for the fight. It says it's a 3-on-3 match, but there's already like 5 guys on the bloodline side. So I already know it's going to be absolute chaos, and something's going to go down, because it's not going to be just a 3-on-3 match. I don't even know who's going to show up, who's going to be in the fight, but
Yeah. I think it's going to be a scenario where, you know, it's already a stacked team. You got KO, you got Randy Orton, and you have Cody Rhodes, but they're going to definitely need at least a 4th member if they're going to take these guys on. And if I'm Cody Rhodes, someone who's helped me in the past is The Undertaker. So that's who I would go to first to try to assist me in this match. And maybe they've already done that.
Yeah. If I had recruited The Undertaker, I wouldn't be telling anyone. I know he did in WrestleMania, and you know, you can't prepare for The Undertaker, obviously, but he's showing up just brings that element of surprise and that the element of terror, you know, when those lights go out and that bell rings. So, you know, if he has been talking to The Undertaker, I'm excited to see what happens at Money in the Bank. Another guy I think he could recruit is Jey Uso. He and Jey Uso have been kind of buddy. I know Jey is also fighting in the ladder match at Money in the Bank, so he's got his hands a bit full, but I could see him wanting to get revenge on the Bloodline, and a good way to do that would be to help out Cody and the crew. So I know Cody and Jey have been buddies in the past, so that is another option if Jey Uso wants to do that.
Or maybe even Jimmy Uso could possibly assist them. We don't know where he's been the last couple of weeks, but or if he's even still loyal to the Bloodline anymore, because the Bloodline doesn't seem to care about him. That's for sure.
No. Yeah, Bloodline hasn't even mentioned him since WrestleMania, basically. And as we've talked about, they're bringing in all these new members. It doesn't seem like they care at all what's going on with Jimmy Uso. And if he does come back, all these new members probably are not going to care about him because, why would they? They're following Solo Sikoa now. Solo recruited them, and they've got no loyalty to Jimmy Uso. So I think if Jimmy does come back, that would be a great time to see him.
Yeah, well, I cannot wait for that match, and I also can't wait for this Money in the Bank ladder match. I believe the three people that are confirmed for the match are Jey Uso, Chad Gable, and who was the third?
Carmelo Hayes, maybe?
Yeah. No, it was that one dude. Andrade. Was it? I don't even remember. Who cares? But anyways, this is going to be an interesting match.
Yeah. No, I love these matches, the 6-man ladder matches. They are a little bit chaotic. I'm a little bit worried with Chad Gable being in another premium live event. Having him in a ladder match with 5 other people, that's just putting 5 other WWE superstars' lives at risk. The past 2 times we've seen Chad Gable on Raw, he was shot in the head, and then whatever happened last night on Monday Night Raw, So if those hackers are willing to do that on just a random Raw episode, I can't imagine what they're planning for Money in the Bank. It's an excellent time for them to strike. I hope the WWE, hire some proper security for this match, but as we talked about, I don't want to harp on that too much. I don't have very much faith in the security teams at this point.
The thing that worries me the most is that this next match is going to be in this Money in the Bank ladder match is going to be in Canada, and we all know what happened the last time Chad Gable was in Canada. And I'm just scared that history may repeat itself.
Yeah, we don't know where these hackers came from, but it seems like it kind of started around the time Chad Gable was causing chaos in Canada, and they do seem to have, a target on Chad Gable's back a little bit. So I don't know if these hackers are from Canada, but if they are, it's not looking good for Chad Gable or the WWE. But I think they put him in that match last night because they thought he was going to lose. So I can respect Chad Gable at least for pulling out the W in that one, because he was in a match against 2 big SOBs, and he beat them both. So.
But do you think that Chad Gable would have won without the help of the Judgment Day?
No, definitely not. That's another thing that that big SOB always gets distracted by the Judgment Day, and then spends the rest of the episode, trying to run around. We've talked about he's too big to actually run, so he kind of just waddles around and can never catch anyone, but just causes chaos, can't win a match because he's too focused on running after Dirty Dom and the rest of the Judgment Day. But, at some point you got to figure it out. You're a big SOB and you got to use your strengths to your advantage. Don't be chasing people around. You're never going to catch anyone.
Yeah, it doesn't really make sense. It's almost like he's been playing too much of the game Sonic the Hedgehog and kind of thinks he's like that, or maybe he's watching too much of the Flash. Because we know that he is a Funko Pop collector, so he might be into this like nerdy kind of stuff about people who run fast. Usually people who like these kind of shows are the ones that can't actually run, and that's why they are so attracted to these like weird shows about fast people.
Yeah,
That's my theory.
I agree. I think he's been watching The Flash or Sonic, or maybe he's trying to go like Super Saiyan. I wouldn't be surprised if he's a big anime fan too. But at the end of the day, you're only human, dude, and you're not a superhero, and you're like 400 pounds. So you gotta tone it back a little bit and fight your battles in the ring, because doing all this running around backstage, it's good for your cardio. Maybe he'll lose a few pounds, and then he'll be able to catch someone. But at this point, try to keep it in the ring.
It's kind of like watching like a dog trying to chase a squirrel. Like they always think they're gonna catch it, but then they never do. And it's just, but the dog doesn't know any better,
Yeah, Braun Strowman is just a big dog. He is a big dog, but
yeah,
sometimes you got to learn. You can't catch that squirrel. And I don't.
Another guy who's a big dog, but actually is pretty fast, is Braun Breaker.
Oh,
I think he is definitely better than Braun Strowman. I think it's a little confusing how Raw decided to draft two people named Braun this year, but obviously Braun Breaker is a lot more of a threat than Braun Strowman, and we saw that in his match against Ludwig Kaiser.
Yeah, Braun Breaker. I'd have to say he might be the scariest guy in the WWE right now. I'm scared of that dude. The way he flies around in the ring, he's breaking people in half. He's not named Braun Breaker for nothing. And hearing the crowd go woo woo woo, it gets me fired up. Just sitting on the couch, I'm doing it with them. So that dude's a bad MRFer, and I'm afraid he might break someone if people keep getting in his way. I can't think of the last time he actually finished a match, because everyone always shows up to save his opponent or to come after him, and he always comes out on top. He delivers that spear and breaks ribs, but I think he's just getting angrier and angrier because he can never actually finish a match in a normal fashion.
Yeah, like we mentioned on an earlier episode, back when he was in NXT, nobody could stop him there either. In fact, The Undertaker had to come in and stop him, which, I mean, that's like the last person that you could ever ask for to stop someone, But yeah, that's why I'm confused why that's why I'm confused why Sami Zayn is acting all tough, challenging Braun Breaker. Like, why would you do that? Like, you're not gonna beat this dude. He got lucky one time against Gunther, but do you really think that you can face this dude, Braun Breaker? I don't know, man.
I know. Yeah, last time there was an event in Canada, Sami Zayn had a match against Chad Gable, and so maybe he's thinking back in Canada, he's trying to put on another show for the crowd, but I think he's reaching a little bit here. Braun Breaker is no Chad Gable, and I'm worried he's going to get destroyed in front of his home crowd. This is another bad look on the WWE, because we know that the Canadian fans love Sami Zayn, and to just put him in a match with Braun Breaker. I know Sami scheduled the match, but someone's got to step in at some point and say this match can't happen, or we're going to see an American kill a Canadian in Canada. There's going to be riots in the street. It's going to be bad. But
I mean, Adam Pearce was standing right there, and he encouraged it.
Yeah, well, that's what we talked about last episode too. Just because the live events in Canada doesn't mean that everyone from Canada gets to just be in whatever match they want. Like, it's dangerous for the WWE to do this. And, I thought it was going to be at least have Sheamus and Ludwig in there too, because they were all talking about fighting Sami Zayn, and all of a sudden it's just going to be Sami Zayn versus Braun Breaker. Like, this is a death match waiting to happen.
I know. I'm definitely looking forward to this match though, because it's kind of like a David versus Goliath, because Sami Zayn, I mean, he was in a similar scenario in WrestleMania where nobody thought he was going to beat Gunther, and he did. So maybe he can pull something like that off again. But uh, I don't see Braun Breaker getting distracted by Sami Zayn's wife. He's on a different mindset than Gunther. He's not going to go out there to showboat. He's there to dominate, and that's it. He's not trying to do it for anybody's attention. He's doing it because he's a big dog, and big dogs got to eat.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But we talked about, Sami Zayn. We all thought he was going to get destroyed in WrestleMania, but he kept kicking out of every single move that Gunther put on him. So I think he's got a chance. I'm not going to rule him completely out, but I agree that Braun Breaker is one bad MRFer right now, and I do not want to be the guy standing in his way. I don't know if this is going to be a no disqualifications match, so if Sheamus and Ludwig do show up, I don't know what's going to happen. And another guy was Ilya Dragunov, who seemed to have beef with Braun Breaker, but now he's nowhere to be seen because his human shield Ricochet got sent through a car windshield. So I don't know what's going on with that dude right now, but
yeah, it is kind of interesting how Ilya Dragunov was all buddy with Ricochet, and Ricochet was always there for him when Ilya Dragunov was getting attacked. But as soon as Ricochet gets attacked and thrown through a car windshield and all that, Ilya Dragunov is nowhere to be seen, and we haven't seen him since. Which I don't blame him. It's not like he's going to do anything against Braun Breaker, but it just kind of shows the kind of person he is. He's not really that, that kind of guy to step up for a person in danger.
Yeah, I think Ilya Dragunov realized he was a bit outmatched with Braun Breaker. As you said, I can't blame him necessarily, but I think it would have been nice for him to at least help Ricochet backstage, because Ricochet was the one who showed up in his match and saved him. And, the brawl carried on backstage. Ricochet got slammed into, just about anything and everything that was backstage. And Ilya Dragunov, nowhere to be found, still nowhere to be found. He hasn't said anything about Ricochet or about the attacks at all. So, just a bad dude moment there. And, it's unfortunate to see. It really is.
Yeah, I know Ilya Dragunov is one of these guys who watch anime, and it shows, like, when you watch these kind of shows with, the characters in these shows have no morals, and the characters in these shows are, I'm not going to say the word I'm thinking of, but they're wimps. If you're going to watch a bunch of wimps on TV all day, then you're going to act like a wimp. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's just a bad look for Ilya Dragunov, but it makes sense, him being a big fan of anime. He posts all these anime pictures on his Twitter, but when it comes to actually performing in the ring, he can't seem to get it done. And I think that's because he spends too much time watching anime and fantasizing about these weird cartoon characters instead of, putting in the work like someone like Braun Breaker does. I know Braun Breaker's not watching anime in his spare time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all these big stars, Undertaker, Brock Lesnar, Braun Breaker. You think those guys have time for anime? No, because they know that that's poison for your brain. They're going to watch real shows like Chokeslam Radio and Scientific Researchers of the Unknown and DRW 15 on YouTube.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. They're putting in the work outside the ring, and that's why they're so successful in the ring. I think Braun Breaker's maybe an excellent choice to be either a Prime athlete or a Goat Fuel athlete. If I'm either one of those companies, he's one of the first guys I'm going after right now. He's got to be a hot commodity. I would be afraid a little bit to see that guy off of Prime, because I don't know if he drinks Prime, but the way he flies around in the ring as it is, a Prime might have him breaking those ropes if he's moving any faster.
He's either drinking Prime or something similar. Maybe he has his own nutritionist who makes his own kind of off-brand Prime. But, he's getting those types of electrolytes for sure. And I'm sure, he would be sponsored by Prime, but he's not about all that attention and stuff. He could
No.
be a Prime athlete, but he's not one of those guys like Logan Paul, whether you love him or you hate him. He is the creator of Prime, but he's kind of obsessed with it. He's always showing off his Prime and talking about it like he is a businessman, but sometimes you got to just drink your Prime and shut up about it. Just because you drink Prime doesn't make you that cool. Like, it's not like just because, Patrick Mahomes, when he won the Super Bowl, he's not showing his Prime everywhere, even though he's a Prime drinker and he probably wouldn't be there without it. Like, sometimes you just got to be humble.
Yeah. Some people, they make it their whole personality. I saw Logan Paul on Monday Night Raw. He was on Logan Paul was on FaceTime last night with Tyrese Halliburton, and Tyrese, showed the camera to the screen, and Logan Paul was there, and I was like, why is this dude not in the arena, not putting in the work? I know he's on Friday Night SmackDown, but it seemed like he wasn't even watching Raw. He had no idea what was going on. Like, this dude's got to get his head in the game. He only fights like once a month, so drink.
No, but like we said earlier, I don't blame him. I wouldn't show up more than once a month, if that, with the current security situation in the WWE right now. Especially if you're a guy like Logan Paul, who I almost called him Logan Prime, which would maybe be a good name for him. But I think that if I was Logan Paul, especially being the CEO of Prime, that means, I'm sure people from Gatorade are trying to get at him. Like, you can't be going somewhere with low security like that, like WWE.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When you're the CEO of anything, you got to be careful. But he's got that Prime hydration station right there. It's just a recipe for disaster. So I do agree. Yeah, it makes sense to lay low for a little bit. We saw a couple weeks ago, LA Knight was just chilling in his backyard in his pool. So I know Logan Paul is definitely up to security since then. So it makes sense for me that he's hanging out at home right now with his upgraded security instead of exposing himself in these WWE arenas.
Well, what's the deal with this LA Knight guy showing up to people's houses uninvited? He did the same thing with AJ Styles just a couple months ago. Is he some kind of like infiltrator, like trained in this stuff, or how does he keep doing this?
Yeah, I don't know how that works. Like, all of a sudden he's just chilling in Logan Paul's pool, acting like he owns the place. Like, I don't know how he's getting these dudes' addresses, getting into their house. Like, I think that's a little bit concerning. If I'm Triple H, and someone in my company is, stalking my other fighters, breaking into their homes, I'm not okay with that. Not at all. Any sort of company, if one of your employees is showing up at other employees' houses unannounced, like, you gotta do something about that.
Yeah, I have a theory. This is just a theory, but it's about Triple H. And some of you guys might not like this, but Triple H, he's known as the Chief Content Officer. I don't really know what that means, but he obviously is trying to manipulate these matches any way he can to make them the most entertaining, kind of behind the scenes. Like, some people may say that it's rigged, but it's definitely pretty shady. But I'm thinking that maybe Triple H or someone else at the top is giving LA Knight these addresses of these superstars because he wants to see them fight these guys. And what's a better way to get them to fight someone by, showing up to their house uninvited when they got their family, their friends, all the personal belongings there. You don't just show up to someone's house like that.
Yeah, no, that's an excellent point. And every time it happens, there's camera guys there. Why would there be camera guys? I know Logan Paul's a content creator, so he's almost always filming, but why are there camera guys at AJ Styles' house when LA Knight just happens to be there? So
Well, I believe the footage they had at AJ Styles' house was from the cop like body
Mm,
cams.
hmm,
Uh,
interesting.
so yeah, because obviously, like, it would be pretty easy to catch someone if they're bringing a whole camera crew with them.
Hmm.
If they're trying to sneak into your house with the whole camera crew, like that's not
Yeah,
that realistic.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Regardless, yeah, Triple H, something shady's going on there, and maybe that's part of the reason why he hasn't put a stop to these hackers because I was tuned into Monday Night Raw the whole time last night waiting for them to show up. I was into it. But at a certain point, you got to put the health and the safety of your fighters first. I know Pat McAfee didn't even show up to the show last night because these hackers have been coming after him. So
I actually saw his father-in-law died, or yeah, I think passed away last night. So that's the reason why he couldn't make it to the show. But yeah, it's kind of unfortunate. But it is very interesting. Like, why are these hackers targeting him out of all people? He's not even a superstar. Like,
no,
what? Pat McAfee's probably one of the most likable guys in the WWE right now. The only guy that he really has beef with is Dom, Dirty Dom. So why are these hackers coming after him?
yeah, no, it doesn't make sense to me. I know Pat McAfee was under a little bit of fire for calling Caitlin Clark a white bitch. I know we've talked about that. So
Mhm.
it could be Caitlin Clark and her fan base because I know she's got a lot of fans. But yeah, these hackers seem to be targeting Chad Gable, seem to be targeting Pat McAfee, and we thought maybe Gunther was another one who was attacked. It was hard to tell, but definitely Pat McAfee and Chad Gable seem to be like the two main targets right now. And I can't figure out a connection between these two.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we know why someone would want to go after Chad Gable, but why Pat McAfee too? Like, what do these two guys have in common that someone like Caitlin Clark, or I was thinking maybe the Alpha Academy, like, why would they want to go after these guys? It's definitely something that I'm going to be thinking about the next
Mm-hmm.
couple weeks.
Yeah.
Another thing that's really weird that I saw people mentioned online is that WWE on their website started selling merch of the Hackers logo,
Mm,
which is really weird because it's like when Xbox got attacked by the hacker group Lizard Squad. Xbox didn't start selling Lizard Squad merch. That makes absolutely zero sense. So the only reason why I could think this would be happening is if the hackers hacked the online store. But I don't. It's definitely weird.
yeah. I mean, I know, as you said, Triple H is the chief content officer or whatever the heck his official role is. Um, I know
Hmm.
he's looking to bring in a little extra money before uh, WrestleMania in Vegas next year. But yeah, it doesn't make any sense to sell this hackers logo and all of their merch on the WWE store. Like that's the last thing I would want to do if I'm running a company. Like you don't see Logan Paul selling Gatorade merch on the Prime store. You know, it's just bad marketing, and it makes your company look weak.
Yeah, I know, but something kind of similar with Logan Paul. Interesting you bring him up. Is he was selling Cody Rhodes primes when he was fighting Cody Rhodes, so it's kind of the same thing. Um, I mean, it's an interesting sales tactic. Um, but I mean, I guess whatever makes money at the end of the day for these guys, that's what they're going to do. Not saying that I agree with that, but
No, yeah, and I don't know how much longer these hackers are going to be around. Um, I don't know at this point if more security is going to do any good because security has been pretty ineffective at doing anything. But as we talked about, it seemed like they may have taken over the social media last week, and now they're selling merch on the WWE official store this week. So, where do we draw the line? Where do we stop? And at what point does Triple H have to step in and say, enough is enough and take control of the WWE again?
Yeah. I mean, so we've been wondering before they even showed up last week. We've been wondering, like, what are these hackers trying to do at the end of the day? Are they trying to get attention? Are they trying to like convey a political message? Is it like some kind of protest? Are they trying to get money? Um, and we finally get to see last night they gave a videotape that was played on TV, and this was the big reveal of the message they were trying to show, and it made absolutely zero sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a build-up for weeks to figure out what's going on, who these hackers are, and then they showed the video. It was creepy for sure. I was like, what am I watching? But I left that video even more confused than, I was before. So I'm not I'm not really sure what's going on with them, and I still have no idea what their motive is. It seems like they're just doing stuff just to mess with the WWE and Triple H at this point and to scare the living heck out of Chad Gable, which they've been successful in doing. But I'm sure they've still got some ulterior motive, and it might be a little puzzle that we have to put together. But Chokeslam Radio will keep you guys updated with all of our research. We're going to be looking into it for sure, and every Tuesday night we'll update you guys with everything we figure out. But right now we are confused as all heck about who these people are and what they're doing.
Yeah, I kind of just had a theory that maybe the Creed brothers and Ivy Nile, maybe they could be involved with the Wyatt Six, or possibly three of the members, because they were quick to show up to Chad Gable after he got, he recovered, trying to team up with him. Could this possibly be a tactic that they are using to manipulate him into becoming part of their group? Because they're new members to WWE. I know they've been in the minor leagues for a while. Could this be a way to get a veteran to join their team and help them out?
Yeah, no, it's an excellent strategy, and it would make sense why this group is targeting Chad Gable, because, yeah, we talked about it. I think the Creed brothers are a group that are looking at Chad Gable. They see, he's not so tight with the Alpha Academy, but he is definitely a veteran. He knows how to be a good coach, but whatever's going on between Chad Gable and Alpha Academy is not looking pretty right now. So it's an excellent time for these other guys to step in and recruit Chad Gable. So, maybe getting in his head so much that he's running for help. We saw last night Otis wasn't very willing to take Chad Gable back in, and then Creed brothers show right up. So if this is their strategy, it seems to be working out pretty great.
Yeah. I have one last conspiracy theory on who I think is part of the Wyatt Six, and that is The Miz. There's been a lot of times, we'll get into this later, but there's been a lot of times that R-Truth is kind of just wandering around on his own looking for Miz. Who knows where Miz is right now? So that's obviously very suspicious. We don't know why this hacker group has been attacking Pat McAfee. And as soon as Pat McAfee wasn't there to show up as announcer on Monday Night Raw, who was there to replace him? It was The Miz. So could this all just be an elaborate plan by The Miz to take Pat McAfee's spot at announcer? Maybe.
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting strategy, and it makes sense. Chad Gable, as we talked about, is an easy target. He has a lot of enemies, so why not go after him? Just to, as we've been doing, we've been throwing out a lot of different conspiracies about who it could be, but it seems like everyone nowadays has beef with Chad Gable, so it doesn't really narrow it down much. But last night, as soon as they announced that match that was happening, Awesome Truth versus Judgment Day, The Miz was like, "Oh, I got to go find R-Truth right away." Runs away, and then what happens right after? The hackers show up, and it's just Michael Cole in the announcer booth.
That's true.
Where's The Miz? We didn't see him find R-Truth until later. So, I feel like The Miz has been around the WWE enough to know how to navigate backstage, where if he wanted to run back there and mess with some things a little bit, he definitely could have.
Yeah, it would make sense that it's someone who's been backstage, who's been able to like breach all their security. Like they know the ins and outs of like how the security guards operate. Maybe they even have access to some of the technology back there. It would make sense that it's one of these superstars who's been doing this. And The Miz is a guy who's been there longer than almost everyone else. Yeah, very, very, very interesting.
Yeah, no, that's a great theory. I hadn't thought of that one, but once you mentioned it, it makes a lot of sense. I feel bad for R-Truth because, as we've talked about, The Miz seems to have been distracted a lot recently. Maybe this is what's been on his mind, but I know for a fact R-Truth is not behind this because he's always just looking to dominate in the ring, but his tag team partner has been letting him down lately, and
yeah,
there was a lot that happened last night, and we'll get into that match now, but just tough to see for R-Truth.
I mean, whether Miz is actually part of the Wyatt Six or not doesn't matter. This guy was distracted last night. He was not ready for a fight. He showed up and he was doing commentary all night. And as soon as he found out that he might have to fight, instead of being excited to beat down the Judgment Day, a guy that, like, a group that they have a lot of issues with, he's all worried trying to find R-Truth so he can stop the fight. That's not the kind of attitude you want as a champion. If you're a champion, you got to be ready for a fight at all times. And Miz wasn't. Miz was not prepared.
Yeah, I knew that match was going to go badly as soon as, that match was announced and the Miz started throwing a little fit that he had to fight. Like, as you said, you're a tag team champion. You should be excited to defend that belt. R-Truth was excited for that match, and he was excited to play, Love Maker and try to hook Dirty Dom and Liv Morgan up. But Liv Morgan's just out here causing chaos. She got in the way of R-Truth last night. She distracted him. He was just trying to be a good dude. But she's the reason that they lost the match. So I'm not happy about that at all.
Yeah, obviously Liv Morgan was causing a lot of trouble, but I still think that if Miz was on his A game last night, they wouldn't have even have gotten to that point where it would have even been that close. I mean, come on, it's JD McDonough and Finn Balor. Like, that's not a very hard duo to beat. They've already beaten way better tag teams recently. Like, if you think, like, two of the guys that they beat to get those belts were Finn Balor and Damian Priest. If you think that JD McDonough is better than Damian Priest, you're wrong. They should not have lost this match. It was because Miz he wanted to have an off day.
Yeah. No, I don't know what was going on with Miz there. R-Truth had to hit the 10 knuckle shuffle by himself. He was taking on both Judgment Day fighters at once. And, at a certain point, when you're fighting both Judgment Day members and then Liv Morgan's showing up and going all crazy outside the ring, you at least want your tag team partner to be there helping you out. And it was basically a 1 against 3. And that's just not fair. I don't know anyone in the WWE that's winning a 1v3.
I was really upset by that match. And I mean, we've been saying this for weeks leading up. We know R-Truth watches this show. He just might have missed the parts, but we've been saying for weeks that the Miz has got to get his stuff together if you want to keep these belts. So R-Truth, if you're watching, we're sorry, man. Maybe you should find a new tag team partner because you could definitely challenge Judgment Day again and beat them probably.
Yeah. No, R-Truth was not the problem last night. We've talked about how distracted the Miz has been, and he was announcing last night, and then he got all pissed off when he learned he had a match, and right then, right there, we should have known. but of course, we're always going to have faith in R-Truth. I do believe that whoever he decides to team up with next, maybe he can recruit his childhood hero John Cena to come back.
Yeah.
That would be awesome to see.
Yeah, I'm sure that R-Truth could be a good tag team with almost anyone he could find. So I'm not worried about that. And R-Truth doesn't even need to be a tag team at this point. Like, I would like to even see him go up against Cody Rhodes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this could be the opportunity for R-Truth to go on a little solo conquest. I know we've talked about it in the past. R-Truth and Cody Rhodes have a bit of a history. So I would love to see that match. R-Truth has gotten the upper hand against Cody almost every time. Now Cody's a prime athlete, but R-Truth's still one of the GOATs. So that would be an excellent match. And I think now is his opportunity to get after it if that's what he wants to do.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure. All right, well, we're coming up on Money in the Bank a week from. Actually, I believe it's a week from Saturday.
Yeah,
a week from Saturday. We know 3 people who are in the match. Who else are you looking? Who else would you want to see in this ladder match?
A lot of the top fighters already have matches right now. I know Gunther showed up last night and challenged the winner of Damian Priest versus Seth freaking Rollins. So those are big 3 that are out. Maybe Otis would be a good one, or
Yeah,
just because I know him and Chad Gable have had a little bit of beef recently. So maybe having them in a 6-man match together, they could either settle that beef or fight it out in the ring. Bianca Belair is definitely an option. I know she's maybe would be more eligible for the women's match, but you never know with her. She could definitely take Chad Gable, I think. And then we talked about Ilya Dragunov. I don't expect him to do a whole lot if he's in that match, but it's a 6-person match. You got to fill the spot somehow, and at least he can get thrown around a little bit and act like a little anime nerd and crash through some ladders before he loses the match.
I only want to see him in the match if he's gonna deserve it, and I don't think he really deserves it at this point.
No, yeah, I mean, if you put him in a qualifying match against 2 fighters, I can't think of anyone that you could put him in a match against that he would do well in. So,
one guy I want to see in the ladder match is Omos. We haven't seen him in a while, but I think that he could be. I mean, he's pretty much almost as tall as a ladder, so he might not even need it to grab that briefcase. So I think that would definitely be interesting to see a dude like that in the match.
Yeah. The only thing I would be worried about is, he takes 1-2 steps off the ladder and that thing tips over. He might be done for. That dude is so big that, any sort of fall, he's fallen from like 10, 12 feet. One fall from a guy like Omos off a ladder, that might be the end from him. And we haven't seen him recently, so I don't know if he's been training or what, but it would be a good time for him to come back.
Exactly. And then I actually like this comment by a viewer. I do want to see Bad Bunny in the ladder match. That would definitely be interesting. Especially since we know he's got beef with Damian Priest, and Damian Priest was Senor Money in the Bank last year. Maybe Bad Bunny could be the new Senor Money in the Bank.
Yeah. Senor Money in the Bank, Bad Bunny. I don't know if he is going to be anywhere near Canada, but it's definitely possible. One last guy that I could see in it is R-Truth. We talked about it a little bit, but it might be time for him to go solo. It might be time for him to take on Cody Rhodes, and a stepping stone to get there is being in Money in the Bank and winning that match. So I think if R-Truth is up for it, we would love to see R-Truth in the Money in the Bank ladder match.
Mm-hmm. I almost forgot we actually had a different tag team championship last night. We had the Beatbox Girls. I like to call them, well, they're the Party Girls. I like to call them the Beatbox Girls.
Mm-hmm.
Going up against, still don't know their names, but that one was definitely an interesting match. I was rooting for Beatbox Girls to win, but they didn't come out with the win.
Yeah. I think they just got to add like one or two more moves to their repertoire. I know their keg stand move is pretty electric, but it just makes it tough when you're in a tag team because you always got to account for the other person on the other team. So they hit that keg stand and it was looking like a W, but I think they just got to add one more flavor, if you will, to their beatbox repertoire. And I do think they've got a lot of potential there.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said earlier, they have a lot of potential. They just might need a great manager. And I think DJ Shaq Diesel is a guy who would get along great with the Beatbox Girls or all into EDM festivals. And Shaq Diesel has, a lot of experience in the WWE. But another guy who's also a DJ with a great knowledge of the WWE is me, DJ Big Unknown. So this is my official, I'm extending an offer to be manager for the WWE Beatbox Girls.
Wow. Breaking news. You heard it here first. That's exciting. We will definitely keep all of our fans updated with that and any future news about DJ Big Unknown becoming a manager for the Beatbox Girls. But breaking news on Chokeslam Radio.
I mean, I already can think of a bunch of great moves that these girls could do, and I have a lot of smart tactics on how we can get those tag belts back.
Yeah, we can't give away too much information right now. There's a lot of other potential managers that listen to our show, but I know DJ Big Unknown has a few tricks up his sleeve and knows a thing or two about beatboxes and wrestling moves. So an excellent fit for a manager.
Mm-hmm. Well, can't really think of anything else that's happened this last week, to be honest.
Well, one last thing is that Damian Priest and Seth Rollins came to an interesting agreement last night on Monday Night Raw that if Damian Priest loses, he's going to have to give up the bloodline or the Judgment Day. Apologies. And that's really interesting, especially with Mommy still out. If Damian Priest loses, what happens to Judgment Day and what happens to Damian Priest? I don't really understand why he would agree to that, but maybe he's just that confident he's going to win the match.
Yeah, and I was shocked to hear him say that the Judgment Day needs him more than he needs the Judgment Day. Because, it doesn't really seem like that. They seem to be getting along great without him. Like, every time we saw him in the locker room, hanging out, playing some WWE 2K, having a great time, eating chicken nuggets. And then every time Damian Priest comes in, he kills the vibe. He barely won that match in Clash of the Castle because he messed up his ankle. And then CM Punk came in and distracted. And then another thing is Judgment Day just won the tag titles last night without him. So
yeah,
it's just kind of weird that Damian Priest is saying these things about his own team because it seems like they would be doing great without him anyway. So not that I'm saying that he should leave Judgment Day, but that was definitely out of pocket.
Yeah, it was a bit uncalled for, I'm sure. Judgment Day is not going to be happy about that, especially with what you said. It seems like he's been a bit of a party pooper whenever they're hanging out. And it seems like Liv Morgan's doing more for them right now than he is. So, maybe not good. I'm sure mommy is watching somewhere pissed off about everything that's been going on. And as we've talked about, I'm pretty nervous to see what happens given the current state of the WWE and their security team when Rhea Ripley comes back. But it seems like Liv Morgan is kind of taking over everything that Rhea Ripley created. And if Damian Priest leaves, that leadership role in Judgment Day is going to be wide open.
What do you think that Finn Balor and Liv Morgan were doing in the clubhouse by themselves when Damian Priest walked in?
Yeah, I don't know. That was a little bit sus. I forget what excuse he even gave, but it wasn't very. Oh, I think he just said she was telling him that she got them a match. I don't know why they have to do that in the locker room behind closed doors. That doesn't seem like a very lengthy conversation to have. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on there. Liv Morgan also said she sent some text to Dirty Dom, and we don't know the nature of those texts, but there's definitely a lot of interesting stuff going on between Liv Morgan and the Judgment Day. And I'm just worried that these guys are going to get too distracted to even fight in their matches. I don't know when Dirty Dom's going to fight again, but he was throwing his dad around the ring last night to protect Liv Morgan. So she's definitely had an influence on some of these Judgment Day fighters for sure.
Yeah, I think it's not going to be too long until we see Liv Morgan as leader of the Judgment Day, because you can say all you want about mommy, like she is a great member of the Judgment Day, but she wasn't doing all this stuff that helped the Judgment Day when she was in it. If the Judgment Day didn't have the titles, she would yell at everyone on the team to say, "Oh, you need to be doing more. You need to be doing better to get this title, or you're going to get kicked out." Liv Morgan, she's not even in the Judgment Day. Instead of yelling at everyone, she's actually doing stuff to help the team do better and get titles. So, as much as I respect mommy, if I'm in the Judgment Day at this point, I don't know who I would prefer.
Yeah, I think Liv Morgan's doing an excellent job of just putting them in positions to win. As we talked about, Awesome Truth beat Damian Priest and Finn Balor in a match. And last night, JD McDonough and Finn Balor won that match because Liv Morgan got them in that match and because she was a distraction for R-Truth. So, she may not be the most dominant in the ring, but she knows how to work and pull some strings outside of the ring to get what she wants. And, I think Judgment Day is starting to see that. So it's times are changing for the Judgment Day for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty obvious Liv Morgan is probably trying to manipulate them, but at the same time, like, when she's doing all this stuff to make your group better than it's ever been before, like, why would you want to fight back against that?
Yeah. Like, I know she definitely has some ulterior motives, and she says at the end of the day, this is all to get back against Rhea Ripley, but Rhea Ripley's not around and Judgment Day's thriving, and they get to play WWE 2K and eat chicken nuggets backstage. That's a pretty good life. I'm not mad about that at all. So ain't no complaints from Judgment Day if I was a part of the group.
Totally agree on that. Anyways, that's all I got this week. I'm looking forward to another great week of WWE.
WWE. But yeah, the next few weeks, it's going to be a bit of a different environment here on Chokeslam Radio, because we might be bringing you guys some episodes where we're together and collaborating. So we'll still have episodes every Tuesday night, but it may be a different background than you're seeing right now. But we promise to still bring you guys the latest and greatest news, and we're super excited to cover the Money in the Bank matches, because those are coming up and those are going to be huge.
Exactly. And if you want your podcast feed to be Money in the Bank, then make sure to subscribe to Chokeslam Radio on every podcasting app everywhere. We're even on Geo Savin. If you're into that, we're on Pandora if you're into that, Amazon Music even. Yeah, exactly. So, if you want to watch the video feed, go on Twitter or YouTube, or some people call it X nowadays. And pretty much, if you can't find Chokeslam Radio, then you don't deserve to listen.
Yeah, I know Drew McIntyre's sending out tweets like a madman, but you should be able to find Chokeslam Radio somewhere in there. And get yourself some Pecan headphones too. Our sponsor. We're still wearing these headphones. My ears feel great. That's why you guys are getting this top-notch sound from Chokeslam Radio. So get yourself some Pecan headphones and Chokeslam that like button.
Thank you for joining us on this bone-chilling journey through the world of WWE. Join us next time on your favorite podcast app, or live Tuesday nights on YouTube, Instagram, and X. As the final bell tolls, remember to stay tuned for more spine-tingling tales from the crypt. Chokeslam that button and subscribe. Check out srotu.org. NTRW15 on YouTube, or else. Until next time, may the power of the dead man be with you. Rest